We've got breaking news out of the NFL where Kansas City wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown is not expected to play in Thursday night's season opener against the Baltimore Ravens. Brown has been dealing with a shoulder injury since the Chiefs' first preseason game. He was one of the team's big offseason acquisitions as they try to give Patrick Mahomes more weapons in the wide receiver room, along with first-round draft pick Xavier Worthy. Here's more on Brown's status from Chiefs head coach Andy Reid.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have Hollywood this week. So, yeah, Hollywood won't be back this week, and we'll just see how it goes. But the kid's amazing. I mean, his progress has been incredible. So, but I wouldn't predict him being there this week.
We'll go next to Sam McDowell.
NFL analyst Ryan Wilson for more on this. Ryan, first your reaction here. Chiefs go out, get them a wide receiver, a marquee wide receiver in a Hollywood Brown, and here he is not able to make the first game against the team that drafted him, the Ravens. Your reaction?
Jeremy, unless Patrick Mahomes changed his name to Marquise Hollywood Brown, I think the Chiefs are going to be okay. They knew with the shoulder injury that Marquise was going to be out for a little bit, so this isn't a huge surprise. They also recently signed Juju Smith-Schuster, who had played for them previously, and you talked about drafting Xavier Worthy, the first-round pick out of Texas, with his 4.2 speed. I think the bigger concern, not so much is Hollywood Brown, but it's the return of what they have in Rashee Rice, because there was some concern that he might be suspended. That has yet to take place. So he will be there in week 1 against the Ravens, and that's a huge development because last year when you looked at the numbers at the end of the season, Jeremy, Rashee Rice was number 2 among all rookie wide receivers in receptions, in yards, and 3rd in touchdowns, and he was only behind in 2 of those categories some guy named Puka Nacua. So that tells you how important he was, and his yards after the catch ability was among the best among all wide receivers last year. So to have him out there, even if Hollywood Brown is going to be banged up for several weeks, and we don't know how long it's going to be, I think that's a great development for the Chiefs, because after they face the Ravens, they face the Bengals. Both games will be in Kansas City, so that's the good news. Maybe Hollywood's back for week 2. We don't know yet. But all told, George Kittle will be there. Patrick Mahomes will be there, and we know Andy Reid will be there, so those are good starts for that Chiefs offense.
Yeah, for Brown, no full seasons played since 2021 as he's kind of dealt with injuries. The last 2 seasons, of course, he spent with the Arizona Cardinals. But how big of a blow is this for Hollywood Brown, given that he signed a 1-year deal, has had a couple of seasons where he hasn't necessarily been a marquee guy?
Yeah, we were talking about this before he came on air, Jeremy. The best years for Hollywood were his first 2 seasons when he was drafted in the first round by the Ravens. Had an up-and-down seasons with the Cardinals, and not entirely his fault. But the good news is, whether you show up in week 1 or week 5 or 6 when you're healthy, Patrick Mahomes will be throwing you the football if you find ways to get open. I think that's the good news in terms of no need to rush Hollywood Brown out there. We know what he brings in terms of straight-line speed and ability to run away from defenders, and you can guarantee that Andy Reid has plans to use him in that manner. But there's also reasons they drafted 4.2 Xavier Worthy, because he's able to win down the field. They have Justin Watson, who's going to play a big role early on. We talked about Juju Smith-Schuster. So even though Hollywood Brown's not going to be out there against the Ravens in week 1, that doesn't mean he can't have a big year and get a big payday at the end of the year if he's able to stay healthy, because that's going to be the big concern. Staying healthy, he's undersized by wide receiver standards. But if he's able to get open, Patrick Mahomes will certainly find him the football, and then I think a lot of those passes will end in huge gains and potentially even touchdowns.
Yeah, Brown penciled in as wide receiver too. Juju Smith-Schuster also on that line, and you mentioned Justin Watson. So do you expect a committee approach in terms of wide receiver 2 here until Brown is 100% cleared?
Yeah, and Jeremy, I think you could argue that this wide receiver group, when Brown is eventually healthy, is better than the one that won the Super Bowl last year when it was a wide receiver by committee. And, oh, by the way, we have Travis Kelce as well. I think that's going to continue to be their game plan. And they keep stockpiling tight ends, by the way, Jeremy. They drafted Jerry Wiley. They traded for Hendershot recently from the Cowboys. So they have a plan to tight end in a post-Travis Kelce world, too. Perhaps we see some of that transition happen in the coming weeks and even over the course of the season about how the different ways they can use their eligibles to get guys open and let Patrick Mahomes do his thing. So I'm not concerned at all. I wish Marquise Brown all the health in the world and gets back to 100% as soon as possible. But in the meantime, Jeremy, I feel like the Chiefs are going to be okay offensively.
Yeah, you and I were discussing before, unless it's Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid, I think the Chiefs are going to be fine. They are the defending Super Bowl champions. NFL analyst Ryan Wilson joining us here on HQ to discuss the breaking news that wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown not going to be available per Andy Reid for that opener against the Baltimore Ravens. And of course, the season on CBS begins Sunday, September the 8th. We've got 6 great games for you on that day. Check your local listings. We've got them on CBS and streaming via Paramount Plus.